And we are live. We are live. So, Emmanuel, if you're there, you can start. You can start. I don't know if you bring them around, but you can start.
Okay. Hi, Michael. Can you hear me?
Loud and
Michael,
clear.
can you hear me?
Yeah, can you loud and clear? Loud and clear.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Is it like an interactive session or like only co-host and host can speak?
Well, I can make sure everyone can speak. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm just going to allow participants. So now they can all unmute themselves and speak.
Okay. Yes, that's decent to know. That's all right. So what we're doing is pretty much more or less like an introductory bootcamp session on graphic design. My name is Emmanuel Iloye, and I'm the creative lead in Octave Incorporations. I will be here to, help you understand what we're going to be trying to achieve in the bootcamp and, the goals that we are setting out to achieve for the students and also the facilitators in the bootcamp. Basically, what we are going to touch in graphic design and, how it's going to affect and affect your lives going forward if you do attend the bootcamp. So it's nice to be here. Good afternoon again to everyone. And I don't know, is everyone here for graphic design too, or is this like just everybody in general? Because I didn't join beforehand, so I don't know
Okay,
how
no, we had
you
a
ran the
lot.
formal one.
Yeah, we had a lot comment for the data analytics. For this is for graphic design. So I'm streaming to YouTube so that those that might miss for something message that they might miss. So send the video to them to watch. Okay.
Okay, that's lovely. Okay, so I didn't prepare a slide for this. I think this was Ibrahim's job to actually do the teaching. I was just meant to come in and say a few things to
Okay.
add to
Okay.
him.
Let me just
Ibrahim
share.
isn't here.
Let me just
So,
no.
yeah,
Let me just is Ibrahim here now?
no, it's not. I don't think so.
Okay. Let me just share the curriculum.
Okay, you have it.
Yeah, I do. I have the curriculum here.
Okay, because he didn't send it to me, so that's fine. Okay.
Okay. So when it's up, I'll just zoom it to that of graphic design. So this is graphic design.
Master Zuma. Hold on.
Okay, I think you can see for graphic design here, yeah?
Okay, that's lovely. Yeah, it's pretty clear. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, lovely. I think people are leaving and coming in at the same time, and we're just like reducing the number. That's all well and good. So basically, um, we'll be touching graphic design in this bootcamp, yeah. And I think number one thing I always try to impart on all my students is graphic design is a job of solving problems. Basically, the moment you have that at the back of your mind, every single time, you'll always strive towards creating good design, not just designs that look good visually, but designs that look good and actually solve problems. Everything in the world is designed everything to solve a problem. Anything that you design to visually pass information has to pass that information and solve the problem of communication at the same time, right? So basically, in everything we are going to be touching, we'll be making sure that we are figuring out how to use all the principles, all the terminologies, all the tools in graphic design to make sure that we are solving any particular problem for any client or for even ourselves at all in the first place. So to start it up, we'll be talking about the history of graphic design. Then the goal of that is basically to show you um the path we've gone through to get to where we are. I think the best ways to learn and to improve and to grow is to understand where it is you're coming from so that you can know all the things you've done, all the things you've made mistakes in, all the things that you've gone through, tried and failed at, and also figure out how to like do better going forward. I mean, it's basically said that those who don't learn from history are bound to repeat it or something like that, basically. So history of graphic design is basically always the first place to start, where we basically just look at, our journey so far. A lot of the terminologies we use now were basically things gotten from the past, basically. Things that they used in the past, maybe when they were not even using computers then, and ended up using that name. And even when we decided to move into computers, it became a strict name that we're using regardless. I mean, in print systems, in block letters, graffitis, a lot of terms that we were using back then, before graphic design even became a thing, we are still using them now, even though we have now gone digital, basically. So that is like the first place to always go to basically understand, graphic design in a nutshell, right? And one other major important thing that I will always emphasize is that there is art and there's graphic design, but they are both different things in entirety. Like I said at the beginning of this class, basically, I said graphic design solves problems. Art, on the other hand, not like it doesn't solve problems, but it isn't created for the purpose of solving problems. It's created for the purpose of expression. So anytime you are designing and it starts to feel more like self-expression, it's no longer design, it's more moving into the artistic realm of it. Doesn't mean we do not utilize art and design. We still have to make sure that what we're creating is visually and aesthetically pleasing to the eye. But while making sure that it is visually pleasing, you have to make sure that you are solving a problem, right? So let me give an example of something like that. If someone like Pepsi, a brand like Pepsi comes up to you and says, "Oh, okay, we are going to need a poster for our new Pepsi product," right? No matter how you want to make the uh, design come out, it has to look good because obviously this Pepsi we're talking about, there's a poster that is going to be on banners and billboards, on social media ads, video presentation, audio ones too, on the radio. There's so many mediums that you're going to use to create designs for Pepsi as a brand. But herein lies the problem. What is the problem Pepsi is trying to solve? Pepsi is already a known brand. Pepsi is already popular. Pepsi can as well create a new product and they don't need to do publicity for it. But then why are they publicizing? They're publicizing because whatever that product is has a goal they're trying to achieve. The product was probably created to reach a particular demography of people. Maybe they are now targeting young people. Maybe the drink is good for old people. Maybe the drink is following a new FDA regulation. Maybe the drink is no longer using plastic, is now using something recyclable or renewable, basically, over plastic. There's always a particular thing, message that they're trying to pass, a particular problem they're trying to solve. And when you are working as a designer, your job is to amplify the solution to that problem while also publicizing whatever it is that they want you to do. So you are communicating a product, you're communicating a brand, you're communicating a message, you're communicating anything at all. It depends on what the project is about. But while communicating, you're also solving the problem of the client to make sure that the goals that they are trying to meet is also met. So that's why design is way different from art. Art doesn't care about any of these things. Art is more basically self-expression or even group expression or even expression of another person's issues whatsoever. I mean, Black Lives Matter, for example, it's not a Nigerian problem per se, but an artist would basically create an art piece that speaks on the problems of the people that are going through it. And the art is like an expression of their problem even though the artist doesn't exactly have any affiliation to that problem whatsoever. That's what art can do. Design, on the other hand, if you're designing for Black Lives Matter, you're not just designing to express, you're going to be designing to solve a particular problem for the brand or for the person that is sending you to do that design. And if you're doing it for yourself too, you're trying and provide a solution to that problem. So you're not just going to design and paint people like, being oppressed. You're going to paint people being oppressed and also pass a message, because there has to be a call to action that kind of like provides a solution to the particular problem. Art, on the other hand, doesn't need to do that. The person can just paint the gruesome thing and put it in a picture frame, and someone sees that and is like, oh my God, Black people really went through a lot. Let me say it again. It's like really beautiful to see and like, heartfelt. But in design, you have to put a call to action somewhere. You have to be intentional about the solving of the problem, basically. So that's where the line comes in. And these are things that you would learn over the journey of graphic design. Basically, you look at the histories of how we've developed and improved, the trends that we've gone through over the years. There was a time when using strokes and outlines was like the big thing then. There was a time when gradients was like what's hot, right? There was a time when too much information was chaotic design. I think now we're in the trend of minimalism and flat designs. And basically you ask ourselves, how did we get here? Where are we going to in the future, basically? So, history of graphic design pretty much embodies all that altogether. When we talk about design principles and processes, we'll be talking about basically everything that you need to know in terms of like balance, hierarchy, contrast, color, typography, alignment, basically all the principles that makes a good design. Basically, we have good designs and we have bad design. It's not rocket science. It's not a straight line about what is good design or what is bad design, but we can try to limit it a little bit to a few constraints, which is a good design solves problems. A good design, follows the design principles. That means, perfect color usage, proper alignment, hierarchy is decent. There's good contrast between your text and your colors and your pictures. You have good balance. Your typography usage is very balanced and works really well too. There are a lot of things in terms of like principles. So these are things that we'll be touching where we are going to be able to like, show you the differences between each and every one of them, explain to you how to train yourself to be good at it, and also to make sure that, once you are creating and you have these things in your head, you cannot really go wrong with the type of designs that you do create, because this time you're going to be able to create things that follow those principles. And the moment you do follow those principles, at least to a certain degree, you are sure and well enough that you're creating a good design. Sure, it might have some issues elsewhere, maybe, just maybe, but you follow the principles to the letter, your designs are going to come out really good, and no one is going to like, have an issue with it. And the problem you're trying to solve would even like get a call to action there in it, where people would actually want to actually provide a solution to these problems. So basically, design principles is more of like a short class, but a very important class too, because design principles will just show you, tell you, help you understand the theory, but it's when you practicalize it going forward through the other classes, that's when you'll be able to like get better at it and be able to, understand it more. Right. So good design and trends. Basically, I talked about that in history of graphic design. When we're talking of good design, basically good designs are things that follow the principles. Good designs are things that even when they do not follow the principles to the letter, they still have something that makes it work, basically. Like I already mentioned, design isn't black and white, right? The difference between good and bad design isn't exactly a straight line. It's complicated and at the same time it's easy, right? You can see it and you can tell, you can notice enough for you to not really care so much, right? Like, okay, well, it's not following the principle, but at the same time, it just works. And that is fine, right? Because we are creative people, we are allowed to express ourselves, we're allowed to break rules and break norms. I mean, if we are not breaking rules, I mean, it's not different from accounting, right? I mean, an accountant cannot decide and say 2 plus 2 is 5. It's not possible because 2 plus 2 is 4. But in design, we can decide and say, well, this color works well with this color and you can make it work. Even though if everyone else feels it's not, you can find ways to make it work. that's why our own work isn't designed. And because of that lack of rigidity, it makes for it pretty much as the name is trends, basically, what's hot right now and what's hot in the next few years, or what Hotline is doing right now, basically. And trends are very important in design, majorly because trends make and break what it is you do in a particular era or a particular time. So, people
Emmanuel, are you there?
trend breakers every once in a while. Those are people that come up with in
Okay. Are you there, Emmanuel?
I'm confused. What are you talking?
Okay, because we were losing you, your voice was breaking. So, okay, we are good now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so as I was saying, trends are basically the things that like make or break, a design system at the moment. It's not exactly a bad thing, but most of the time, trends are the things that, every designer or, every creative person tries to follow to a particular degree so that whatever it is you're creating doesn't exactly fit. This is kind of important. They see, and what they see decides what they want. And when they want it, they come to a designer to provide that for them. So the problem is if you create and you don't know what's trending or what is, hot right now, you end up creating things that are basically out of taste. Not like it's bad, but it's not what everyone is doing. And at that point in time, you get to have maybe just maybe have issues with your clients that, would not accept what it is you're doing because, hello, no one is doing this. This would not work for my brand, which is where, trend breakers always come in every once in a while. They do something crazy, chaotic, out of the ordinary, and then everyone adopts it and it works all together. I think a perfect example of that would be the Allegra illustration system. I think it was Facebook that started it at the point. I don't know, you would have seen it everywhere. They're basically all these flat illustrations with disproportionate body sizes, like tiny heads, big body, big leg, doing some very awkward stuff, maybe riding a bicycle, holding a book. They're like the basic illustration system of everything you see on social media now. Facebook uses it, Discord uses it, LinkedIn uses it. They're basically very popular illustration systems. And this then, like, it started from the past, basically from like the 1980s, 1990s, but they brought it back around that 2014, 2016 period. Until now, they're still using it. It's what basically every big tech corporation uses to create illustrations, basically. And why are they using it majorly? The idea is because the heads are disproportionate, the bodies are in very awkward sizes, the colors are very weird too. You see people in green skin, purple skin, blue skin. It kind of like creates this idea of there's a lack of identity to it. So we are not exactly, if you do an illustration of a black man and you use that for like a poster or a design that you're working on, you kind of like, segregate white people to not feel, um they are not feeling cold to the design, basically, because they feel, by default, there's this feeling of, oh, it's a black man that is there, so maybe it's just not my problem, right? So the Allegra system created a way where, every character that is created doesn't feel like anyone. So that way, everyone can feel interested in it. So it feels like a way to break the segregation because the characters are not exactly affiliated to any race, religion, color, or tribe whatsoever. So it's just like a beautiful way to like, bring the world together, or at least that's what they feel. So that's basically what's trending right now. You have the Allegro illustration system. You have flat illustrations that's trending right now. You have minimalism, designs that are not too chaotic. They just do the barest minimum, and the barest minimum is fine, basically. You have fashion being brought into design now. You have your tribe and wherever it is you're working for, basically the area of work being brought into the work that you're doing. Like if you're creating a design for Igbo people, you kind of like tie in all things Igbo into that design to kind of like cement it completely, so that way you get to like pass the message on as quickly as possible, rather than trying to gather as many races and try it together and stuff like that. That's also a thing that we're doing now. So pass the message as plainly and as clearly as possible directly to the people you're trying to get the message to. So these are basically things that are going on currently in the design world. So when you know what's hot and what's not, you get to be able to walk along those lines and make sure that things work well for you in terms of your design. And you also get to, eventually maybe just maybe be a trend breaker and say, okay, you know what, we've done this too much. How do we make it better? And then you start doing it and everyone starts seeing it. And next thing you know, everyone starts following it. And we enter a new era of design altogether too. So trends, very lovely, very chaotic too at the same time, but we got to do what we got to do, right? Typography, basically, these are everything text related that we do. What we'll be talking about is basically all the types of fonts that we have, typefaces. So one common mistake or error that people basically make in terms of like typography in general is, we have fonts. I think everyone should know what fonts are. Basically, in your usage of Microsoft Word, you should know you have your Times New Roman, your Arial, your Calibri, maybe at Pro. There are different fonts in the world, basically. But we also have what is called typefaces, a term that most people never talk about, even designers, because it's a term that no one ever really knows. So we just call them fonts. But herein lies the problem, right? Typefaces are basically the things like Arial, Times New Roman, and all the other fonts that we do have. They are called typefaces. And why is that? I'll explain. Typefaces are pretty much like, let me use a music terminology here. So typefaces are like the album an artist has made, like the album that has all the songs, whereas the fonts are the songs in that album. So if you've ever used like fonts a lot, I don't know if you have on the meeting right now. So if you use fonts a lot, you realize that Arial has a lot of like sub bodies in it. You have your Arial black, Arial narrow, Arial bold, Arial italics, Arial thin, and all those kind of stuff. Yeah. So all those versions of Arial are basically the fonts. They're the ones that are actually called the font, while the typeface itself is called Arial. So the typeface is Arial, and then it is a font family. In the family is now where you will find all the fonts like Arial Black, Arial Bold, Arial Narrow, Arial Thin, Arial Light, and all the rest. Same thing with Times New Roman. You have Times New Roman Regular, Times New Roman Bold. You have italics versions too for both of them, basically. So we'll be talking about typography. We're talking about the different types of fonts we have: the serif, the sans serif, the slab serif, the script, the extended, all the different, I think 7 or 6 different font types that we have, the relationship between them, the terminologies that describe them, basically the stem, the bow, the neck, all the basic, or there are lots of terms, the arc, the kettle, there are lots of terms to everything that we have in fonts. And knowing all this helps you make better and informed decisions in typography, right? Typography is a very, very big course in general, like very massive and very important, especially in this era of design that we're at. Because now we are believing that we've not, but then, run out of ways to use shapes and, use them to express what it is you're trying to say. So why not use our text instead? I mean, there's so much power in the text, there's so much power in the words, there's so much power in how you use those texts to communicate, right? There are a lot of videos on typography and how they amplify and make or break designs that we'll be sharing with you. We'll also be showing you different examples of how typography is very, very important in the kind of like design processes on what you work with. So color would be the next one, the fundamentals, the theories, and everything else. Color basically is all encompassing in design. There's no design without color. Basically, each color has its own mood that it represents. The moods determine the kind of like feeling the design or the project invokes. And then all these colors, theories, and all the applications of color are the things we'll be talking about. The different types of digital colors we have, the RGB version, CMYK, the Pantone, the US quoted versions, every color version that we do use basically that are like very relevant and very important. We'll be talking about them. Combination of colors, what colors work best with each other, light colors, dark colors, the different shades of digitally created colors, the pixels that you're using, the lightness, saturation, the hues, everything that you would need to know on color choices and how to make and choose good colors are things that we'll be touching in fundamentals of colors, basically. And yeah, going through all that, you basically know so much about design, right? Like, ooh, awesome design, let's go. But then the difference between a normal human being and a designer is a normal human being doesn't know how to use the softwares to make their imaginations come to life, basically. So even after we've taught you about colors, typography, theories, and everything that you need to know, you're knowledgeable. You now know about the right things to do and the wrong things to do. But you are still a normal human being, even with that knowledge. Why is that? Everything that you know is stuck in your head. The usage of the software is to bring all those things in your head into reality is where the softwares come in. So when you now know how to use the software, you know how to draw a circle with your design software. You know how to manipulate your circle to turn into a square. You know how to manipulate your circle to turn into different circles. You know how to give it multiple colors. You know how to give it one color. You know how to draw multiple circles in seconds. You know how to type. You know how to adjust spacings between text, between letters, between baselines. When you now know how to do this, that's when you become a designer and no longer a normal human being. Because now everything that is in your head isn't imagination anymore. It can become reality because you know how to use the softwares to make that happen. And that's when we'll be teaching you how to use the softwares to make that happen. So the major softwares being used in the industry right now, that's Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Effects, After Effects, Adobe Premiere Pro, CorelDRAW 2 is still being used currently in the industry. So when you know how to use the softwares, you get to be able to learn how to design and bring your imaginations and designs to life. And so we'll be touching that majorly. That will be like the major part of our workload, because once you know how to use the software, the rest is up to you to bring your imaginations to life. So feed yourselves with as much creativity and good designs so that you can then start to create your own versions of that too, basically. Well, you've now learned the software. We'll be talking about branding and identity design. Basically, that's pretty much about logo creation, about brand consultancy, about marketing, about publicizing yourself, publication, about the way you position yourself in the eyes of users and audiences and people around you, basically. So one thing I always like to say is companies alone are not brands. Every single one of us is a brand, right? When I came up to this space to talk, first thing I said was, "Hi, my name is Emmanuel Oye. I'm the creative lead of Health Living Corporations." That is basically branding. That is me telling you who I am because that's what I do. That's me positioning myself to you as a person of influence and affluence that can actually like impart knowledge onto you, right? If I come in here and I don't tell you my name, I don't say anything about myself at all, you will get to question, okay, is this person good enough to do anything at all, right? But branding is about you putting yourself in a place where you can say, you do this, you do that, you do this, and you have the track record or at least the packaging to look the part, basically. So that's exactly what we're talking about in branding and brand identity design. And that will be talking about how to create brands, how to design for brands, how to position, market, and publicize brands into, looking exactly how they want to be. So we'll be working on creating logos, we'll be working on branding them, merchandise, letterheads, merch. Basically, we're talking about prints, we're talking about business cards, we're talking about t-shirts, we're talking about everything else entirely. Basically, how does a brand go from, oh, I want to create a company into, ah, this is my company, basically. So that's brand identity design in a nutshell. And that's my forte. So I think that's where I'll be coming in most to to hold my own classes in the boot camp, basically. I think Ibrahim will be taking most of it, but I'll be coming in every once in a while to make sure that everything is going well. Power in illustrations. Basically, we're talking about how sorry about that. Basically about how illustrations are being used in design today. It's a necessary and important part of design now. I mean, when I just started learning design a few years ago, illustrations weren't exactly super powerful in design. People were doing it, but it didn't seem like a necessity or a skill to learn. But now it feels like every designer wants to know at least how to do illustrations to a certain extent because it's just necessary. You open a new mobile app, illustrations are what welcome you because it's just easier to create characters that people can feel for empathy, sympathy, and just attraction towards because they're like cartoony and colorful and just beautiful to look at. It's more pleasing to look at that than to see a human being in terms of like photography or something like that. Not like people don't still use photography though. We still use photography, but illustration has now like put itself in a position in design where you cannot just do without it. You cannot go a day on social media without seeing an illustration unless you are like using terrible, terrible social media and you need to throw your phone into the dustbin or something, you would have to see an illustration somewhere. It's always somewhere. Illustrations, animations, they're everywhere now because people love to see them basically. And it's just something beautiful and wholesome, especially with this Generation Z world that we live in now. TikTok, Instagram, young people are being more involved in how brands are moving, right? We see young brands that appeal towards a younger generation, and you see them making all the money in the world because we have the numbers in the young generation now. So a lot of brands are trying to appeal to this demography to make sure that, they get to steal as many clients as possible from them. And so illustrations is one of the ways to do that. And we're going to be talking about what the right set of illustrations are, the kind of ways to do it, how to use your tools to create them, and how to brainstorm, how to ideate, how to get references, how to turn human pictures and reference them and use them into creating illustrations. They're talking about body structure, positioning. Basically, it's more or less like how to draw, but at the same time, not how to draw because you can be a shitty artist, like one of the worst artists in the world, and you will still be very good at creating illustrations, basically. So we'll be teaching all the secrets and tips to that. And, yeah, it makes for a very interesting and very nice class, very colorful and beautiful class, to be very honest. And next, we'll be going to is portfolio building, personal projects. Basically, as a designer, there are different forms of designers that we have, right? We have in-house designers, we have design agency designers, and we have freelance designers, right? So in-house designers are people that basically work in-house for brands and companies, right? So take Rolls-Royce, for example. Rolls-Royce, they eventually commissioned Pentagram. Pentagram is a design agency to rebrand and create their logo for them. I think that was in 2019 before COVID. And Pentagram got paid a shitload of money to do that. And Rolls-Royce got all the logo files and everything. And eventually their designers were still the ones that, finished up all the work to make sure that, they keep rolling content and all, right? What's that story for? Rolls-Royce as a brand has its own designers. They are people that work with Rolls Royce, like they'll tell you, if I work at Rolls Royce, I'll tell you, oh, I'm a designer at Rolls Royce, right? But even while those guys still exist, there are still design agencies like Pentagram, Port Canvas, Credital, and there are a whole lot of design agencies, Noah's Ark, right? And what they do is they take commissions from companies and help them to handle massive big projects, majorly because they are better than the designers that are in the company. Take Octave Incorporations, for example. At the moment, I work for Octave as a designer. So I'm an in-house designer at Octave, right? But if I'm working for Pentagram, for example, I will be a design agency designer, which means I work at Pentagram, that is a design agency. And if I'm a freelancer, that means I can do both. And at the same time, I can work for myself. So that means Octave can call me to work on a particular project. I come in, I do that project, and I'm out of Octave, right? Pentagram can say, oh, we're working on something and you have the most experience because you've done it before. Can you come join us on this project and let's do this? And I can go to Pentagram and I can work for them. I can work for Google, I can work for Facebook, I can work for Adobe, I can work for Pepsi, I can do anything I want. And, it's just for a particular project or for a particular short period of time. So that's what freelancing as a designer is. But what do all these three have in common is whoever it is you're working at, you would need a portfolio to put yourself on the map. That means you need a showcase of your capabilities. I mean, if you want to work for Octave, you would need to have a portfolio. I would go through it and say, okay, this guy's a really good designer. Let him come on board and join the team at Octave, right? If you want to go to Pentagram, you would need a very, very impressive portfolio for them to even think of hiring you. But then in the end, you need that showcase of your work in large amounts for you to be able to um be into like to get your foot through the door. And even as a freelancer, before someone comes up to you and says, oh, I heard you're a designer, can you help me brand my company? They would want to see things you've already done. They would have seen things you've already done, and they're like, oh, this guy is really good at what he does. So I believe like I should reach out to this person and get them to, work for me. So we'll be talking about how getting a portfolio that can help you um get your foot through the door, basically. So you want to make sure that you have stacks of your best work, basically. So what we're going to be doing is how to get your portfolio set, the different methods you can use, the different mediums you can use, the the methodology to publicize your portfolio. I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry, I got a message from Michael on something. So yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, we'll be teaching you the different methodologies to use, how to grow in building your portfolios. I've had multiple portfolios over the years in my design journey. Every time a new method, a better method comes up, I find a better method and I move towards that too. So that's basically that in portfolio building. Personal projects, basically personal projects are necessary in building a portfolio because most of the time, when you work as a designer, you're working for the client. And more times than none, the clients are always going to emphasize that to you that you are working for them. So why is this a problem? This becomes a problem because when you're working for your clients, they get to dictate and control your creative process. So that means if you're working and you're like, okay, you've done your research and okay, let's say for Octave, for example, let's say the logo for Octave is blue and pink, for example, then I give it to Michael, and Michael is telling me, well, you see, my girlfriend thinks we should use green instead, right? And I'm going to tell him, no, green doesn't exactly work well for the company. It doesn't speak to the goal they're trying to achieve here. I think blue and pink works well because they're trying to, create a community, a family. So blue for guys, pink for women. So, we are trying to make sure that everyone is just accepted, right? So green has no stay in this. Michael will go on and tell me, well, I want green and you have to give me green. So in the end, I'll have to choose green because obviously it's the one paying my bills. And most of the time when that happens, I would not want to put Octave Incorporations in my portfolio as, oh, I'm the one that did this because I am not happy with the end result. It will still look good, obviously, but then you would know that it could have been better, but you were handicapped by your client. So that's where personal projects come in. Personal projects help you to express yourself as yourself. So that means no one is holding you, no one is controlling you. You have full creative direction to create as beautifully and as lovely and as problem solving as you can. And why is this important? Is always what HR people, that's, I don't know what they call human resources. Sorry, it's no longer actually worked in the corporate world, so I don't know what they do anymore. So that human resources, they're the ones that basically they go through things like that, your personal projects. Okay, this is how this person can think. I love how we were so expressive in this project. I love how we use these colors here. So personal projects are more
Hello,
you.
please, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, please, I forget to start the course on time. Can I get a replay of the class, please?
I think it's a recorded class, so you will most likely
Yes,
get
it is. It is.
YouTube.
We'll send it to
Okay,
you.
that's
Yes.
for the graphic design, right?
Yeah, yes, you will.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Michael, how many minutes do I have left actually?
About about say 5 minutes.
That's sad. All right, then I'll finish up. I have just two places to go left, and then we'll do questions if we do have any. So that's fine. So personal projects are more self-expressive and they give you all the creative freedom that you need to work. And you can use those ones to fill up your portfolios way more. And I personally love using personal projects in my own portfolio because they just help my work look more me. And I feel very proud of it. Like when I'm sharing it, I feel no pressure, no fear, because I know this is top work, right? But at the same time, I'm not saying fill up your portfolio with only personal projects. You have to show that you are able to work with companies and brands too. If not, they will say, oh, okay, you know how to work by yourself and you don't know how to work with other people. So why should I hire you? Because that will mean you're working with me, right? That kind of vibe. So you want to show a perfect balance of both, how well you can work with clients and how well you can work when you have full creative freedom too, right? So yeah, we'll be talking about that in portfolio building, personal projects, client searching, negotiations, charging rates. This one is pretty much outside of design, but very necessary. It's one thing to be a very good designer, it's another thing to be able to make money out of it. Right. I learned that the hard way because no one was there to teach me, which is why I always make sure it's in the curriculum for all my design classes because everyone thinks, oh yeah, you know how to design, good for you. But then by the time it's time to make money, you realize good, you're a good designer, but you don't know how to make money. So it doesn't matter if you're a good designer, you're a very broke and poor designer. And that's not a good thing because designers need money, right? So how do you search for clients? What platforms do you use? How do you get referrals from the clients that you work with? How do you communicate with your clients to make sure that they always talk about you to their friends and their other people that are around them to get them to, come and work with you? How do you utilize your friends, your social circle to make sure that you get clients? How do you negotiate, right? How do you make money moves, right? How do you charge 150,000 for a logo, and how do you go from that to charging a millionaire for a logo to 5 million for a logo? Those are things that we'll be talking about. How to, bend your rates, how to, negotiate with clients because clients don't want to spend money. They're looking for the cheapest, best possible way to get services, especially Nigerian clients. So I don't blame them. I mean, things are hard in the country. So they're always looking for the cheapest. Yes, there's a graphic design introductory class. So yeah. Nice to meet you, Sadiq. Welcome. Welcome. So yeah, they're always looking for the cheapest, best possible rates to do their work. They're not looking for bad work. Most clients, at least the ones that I work with now, back in the past, I worked with clients that don't know what good or bad design is. They'll just take anything you give them. But now the clients I work with, they don't want bad design. But at the same time, they're looking for how to get really good design for the cheapest possible amount, right? So negotiations are always very important. You want to be able to make them dig deep into the wallet and, pay the big bucks, basically. So we're talking about that. So careers in design is basically the different kind of works you can do as a designer. The different fields in design. You have illustrations, you have animations, you have branding and brand identity, you have social call it social media design, but I don't know, there's a better name for it, but I can't really remember that. You have publication design, you have print design, you have design and art, basically becoming an artist altogether, but an artist that basically designs. So your art is basically used in designs. Take when you open design software, for example, maybe Adobe, Figma, see all these artworks that are there. They're created by designers that, use those designs to amplify, those artworks to amplify design systems and all, basically like your games. So you have game designs too. You get to design characters, you get to design the layout, the what the whole game interface would look like. You have product design, you have UI and UX design. Even though they are different, they still have to learn the fundamentals of graphic design. Graphic design is what spreads into all forms of design that you have. And so we're talking about all the different fields and careers that you can possibly go to in design. And yeah, from there, you decide what you want to work with. You want to be a generalist or a specialist. So a generalist is someone that does, I won't say everything. It's not possible to do every form of design, but then someone that does multiple forms of design, or a specialist, that's someone like me. I just do brand identity and I do illustrations, basically. So I specialize in those two alone. I don't do other things. Even though I can, I choose not to do it. So you decide what form of designer, what type of designer you want to be, but then you have all the information in the world to make an informed decision going forward. So that's pretty much the bootcamp in a nutshell. There'll most likely be a project somewhere along the line, but that's something your facilitator was meant to talk to you about. But he unfortunately couldn't be here today. So you'll be having a capstone project at the end of it that will basically give you a work to do on everything you've learned, like utilizing everything you've learned to work on maybe, I don't know what it is, but will probably be something into branding or into branding and illustrations and combination of everything you've learned basically. But trust that it's going to be a wonderful project to wrap up your time here in the Octave Digital Bootcamp. So thank you for having me. And if you do have any questions or clarifications, anything at all, please do let me know. Don't be shy. Unmute and let me know what you think.
Okay, thank you very much. So if you have any questions for Mr. Emmanuel, you can ask him about the bootcamp and all.
Hello, sorry, I have a question. Hello.
All right, go ahead. I can hear you.
You mentioned something about pentagram and port canvassing.
Yeah, I did.
So it's like you were talking about portfolio agency. I didn't get that point about pentagram and port canvas.
Oh, okay. So I was trying to do a difference between an in-house designer and a design agency designer, right? So there are agencies, there are companies that are like design agencies. What they do in that company is they take on clients and do designs for them. The difference between a design agency and just a one-man designer is a design agency is filled with multiple designers, right? So remember at the end where I said you have different forms of design, yeah? You have print design, publication, game design, and all the rest. A design agency tries its best to hire as much designers across all the different careers and fields in design. So if a client like Pepsi comes up to them and says, okay, we want to do a new product, you'll be helping us design the plastic, you'll be helping us do publicity, social media publicity, you'll be helping us do print publicity, so that's billboards and banners, you'll be helping us do the website, you'll be helping us do the shopping page where you can buy and sell the products, you'll be helping us. So there are a lot of things they're going to do. A design agency is better equipped to handle that kind of project because they'll tell, okay, the print guys handle the print, the plastic guys handle the packaging design, the website guys handle this, and everyone does their work. And in a matter of like 2 to 3 months, the project is done. And not just one person worked on everything because it's almost impossible for one person to work on everything. That's what a design agency does. So I was saying that, as a designer, you can either be an in-house designer, a design agency designer, or a freelance designer. An in-house designer is someone that just works for a company. So for me, for example, I work in Octave Incorporations as a designer. If Octave wants to do a Happy New Month design, they're not going to go and meet Pentagram or Fort Canvas that, can you help us do a Happy New Month design? That's a job for the designers that work in Octave. So as an in-house designer, you work inside the company and you do the easy, busy, the simple, basic works of design that are in the work, basically. So that means you're working on maybe Happy New Month designs, you're working on posters for events, you're working on branding for an event, something not so massive. But when the company wants to go massive and they have the big money to spend, they would rather give the work to an agency that has a very, very vast library of very strong designers that can take on the job and get the job done faster and even more professionally because that is their job, right? So Pentagram is an example of a design agency. You can check them out. I would prefer you check them out on LinkedIn because they are like really amazing. You can check them out on Instagram too, like Pentagram, almost like Instagram, but Penta, like 5, Penta, Penta, Pentagram. Fort Canvas is also a design agency. Fort Canvas is actually a Nigerian design agency. You have that's Fort, like first, second, third, fourth canvas, basically. You have Noah's Ark. That's like in the Bible, Noah that built the ark because of the flood, Noah's Ark. That's also a Nigerian design agency. You have Cregital. So that's like digital, but then CRE Cregital. That's also a Nigerian design agency. I don't want to give foreign design agencies. I want you to use Nigerian ones instead. So because it's Nigerian, you get to like, you know, feel more relatable to them and the projects that they do work on. They're really good. One of the best. Fourth Canvas basically works with Airtel. That's if you check all the Airtel advertisements down on television since the period where Airtel started telling these short stories with like actors and stuff, and then they'll use a story about maybe like a fight and use it to like say how their own network doesn't like give you issues and stuff like that, right? All those communication advertisement system is all Fourth Canvas basically. And since then, a lot of other brands in Nigeria have started trying to make better adverts instead of singing and dancing and looking all stupid in the name of like adverts. So you're actually trying to tell a story about how your product works, right? That's all Fourth Canvas for Airtel. And now you see Airtel doesn't do all those dancing and singing and all those rubbish that we used to see on adverts in Nigeria and stuff like that, right? So that's what design agencies do. They help you, you know, improve your brand perception altogether because they're filled with very, very good designers that get the job done. And that was what I was trying to explain. I don't know if I like clarified it for you now, basically.
It's clarified. Sir.
Okay, that's lovely. I have a text. The graphic class. Oh, okay. Okay, Michael already answered that. All right. Do I have any other questions from anybody else, basically?
Well, any other question will be answered. You can drop your contacts, Manuel, so you can reach you out directly.
Oh, okay. Let me do that then. So that's my WhatsApp number, I guess. It is my WhatsApp number. So it's also my phone call number. That's fine. I guess you can just reach out. So that's the number. I don't know if you can see it. It's very easy. So I guess you can just take a screenshot of that, basically. So yeah, I think there's another class after this, so I wouldn't want to like take out of your time. So any other questions before we call it a day?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, well done. Thank you for this session. What I'm saying is, please, how can one get to know like more about this graphic design class? Like maybe the practical aspects apart from the introduction.
Basically, I think that's what the boot camp is for. So the whole idea is we are going to be having some training session for like the next 2 months. I think it's starting. I don't actually know when it's starting because I'm not exactly in charge of it, but I think Michael will handle that one. Michael, please.
Okay,
How do
please.
we get it? Yeah.
Are we going to be like notified about it?
Okay, just send me a message. I'm gonna put my my direct link to my DM, WhatsApp DM,
Okay.
so you can just send me a message and I'll send you everything that you need to know.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. All right then. That's lovely. All right then. So I do hope you can like come in and learn. We have like really amazing designers at Octave that are like going to be teaching you and getting you to be really good at design, basically. Like really, really good at design. I can promise you that. So yeah. Thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate you. And I do hope every one
Excuse
of
me, sir.
you.
Sir, the link that was just posted, that's the WhatsApp link. It's not clickable.
Okay, just copy it. Copy it and
Okay.
paste it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just copy
Okay,
it.
let me just
Copy it
screenshot it.
and go paste somewhere and then click it.
Yes, I screenshot it.
That would be very well.
All right, thank you
Hello,
very much.
sir. Please, can we still join the digital marketing session?
Yes, you can. Everyone can do that.
Okay.
Yes, you can wait.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming. And you know, you can wait until the digital marketing session. I do hope to see you in the design class and let's create magic together.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys. So the facilitator for the digital marketing is around. So I'm going to stop streaming so that it cuts for graphic design, so that I can share the recording to those that missed it.